Record. There we go. Perfect.
Start?
Yep.
Okay. Good morning to today's webinar, Understanding the Value of the GRE from an Admissions Perspective. My name is Matthew Bashi-Kadlubowski, and I'm the Associate Director for Global Client Relations at Educational Testing Service. I've been at ETS for over a decade, and I've worked for both the GRE and the TOEFL testing programs. Prior to coming to ETS, I worked in enrollment management and was Director of Admissions, and worked at a variety of institutions, both state-related, state and private, at the undergraduate, graduate transfer, and MBA levels. So today, we're here to do our webinar for the AIGAC webinar series. If you remember, if you are a member of the organization, in 2018, we did the GRE 101 webinar for business schools. And last year, we did the GRE general test, one test to power any career webinar. Today's webinar, we're going to initially start with some quick updates from the 2018-2019 GRE test taker population. And we're going to give you an opportunity to hear firsthand from a director of MBA programs who has been using the GRE scores for several years. And just as a reminder, please feel free to enter your questions in the Q&A window, and we'll be sure to answer them at the end of the session. So today, I'm proud to welcome Bina Khurana, Director of MBA Programs at Orfalea College of Business at Cal Poly. I'll let Bina tell you more about her background and her role here, more importantly, at Cal Poly. So take it away, Bina.
Good morning from the Central Coast in California. As Matt said, my name is Bina Khurana. I'm Director of the MBA Programs at the Orfalea College of Business, California Polytechnic State University in San Luis Obispo, halfway between San Francisco and Los Angeles. We are one of 23 CSU campuses spread over the length and breadth of California, and we take education very seriously. I came to Cal Poly as a visiting professor in management in 2012, and then I began to oversee the MBA program in 2014. And since taking on the responsibility, I've renewed, after graduate school, of course, my engagement with the GRE. As way of background, my relationship with the GRE and TOEFL began as a student in India when I was applying to the US for graduate school. Admittedly, I did well enough on the test and credited with being accepted to UC Berkeley to do my PhD in cognitive psychology. And now I look to it in order to help me choose candidates to accept to the Cal Poly MBA program.
Excellent. Well, again, thank you for working with us today and participating. And thank you for inviting me to your lovely campus. I actually were both doing this live from California. So it's a great opportunity for me to come visit this campus and see the beauty of it and the strength of your program. So let's start today by providing everybody, let me just advance the slide, with an update or an overview of the GRE test taker population as a whole. And this, again, comes from the 2018-2019 GRE snapshot report, which is scheduled to be released sometime in next month, which is February. In the 2018-2019 testing year, there were approximately 532,826 unique GRE test takers. Non-US test takers represent 44% of the testing population, up from 42% from the previous year. Our GRE test takers come from more than 160 countries. Test takers who tested in the US, China, India, or Europe represent 88% of the test taking population. And of course, India and China were the countries with the largest growth, and that's been consistent year over year. In terms of background experience, the GRE population came from a diverse, comes from diverse undergraduate majors, such as the life sciences, social and behavioral sciences, and engineering backgrounds were the largest groups and represent 61% of the GRE test taker population. Business schools are particularly interested in this diverse STEM population to help diversify their programs with non-business backgrounds. Of more than 500,000 test takers who took the GRE general test in the 2018-2019 testing year, 55% of the test takers were women, which is consistent, again, year over year. We're looking at the age of, or when looking at the age of total population, GRE test takers 25 years of age or younger represent approximately 73% of the total population. Those that are 18 to 22 represent the majority of GRE test takers at 46%. So let's take a closer look at GRE test takers with intended graduate majors in business. For the 2018-2019 testing year, there were 42,700 test takers pursuing a graduate degree in business. That number has been growing consistently year over year and has increased 25% over the past 5 years and now represents 8% of the total GRE volume of test takers. And of this group of test takers, 50% were women. Also, 22% of the test takers pursuing a graduate degree in business came from underrepresented groups, which include Black, Mexican, Puerto Rican, American Indian, and other Hispanic populations. Taking a closer look at GRE test takers with an MBA degree objective, again for the 2018-29 testing year, there were 15,126 test takers pursuing an MBA degree. 48% of those were women, and 27% had more than 5 years of work experience, which I know for many institutions is very important. 51% were age 25 or under, and in terms of enrollment preferences, 71% plan to enroll in a full-time MBA program, and 67% plan to pursue their MBA degree on campus. Again, this information is pulled from the GRE snapshot of individuals who took the GRE general test, and again, this will be available in February. You will have a copy of this presentation. This will be posted on the AIGAC website, but if you need to access the publication that we're referencing, please go to ets.org/GRE/snapshot. Again, that's ets.org/GRE/snapshot. So now let's get a more in-depth look at O'Fallon College of Business School and your student profile information.
So thanks very much. As you can see on the slide, we're a business college that provides 6 graduate degrees. Of course, the MBA is our signature degree, as it's the signature degree of all business schools. However, we also have specialized masters in accounting, business analytics, packaging value chain, quantitative economics, and taxation. There are 2 professional certificate programs, one in business analytics and one in packaging value chain. I'm going to talk today, of course, about the MBA, but also about the MS in business analytics, as I work closely with that degree program as well, given the fact that there is now an increasing demand for individuals who speak the language of business. So not only can companies hire business analysts, which are data scientists primarily, but these days companies are also looking to hire what are deemed data translators. And that's where the MBA program comes in at Orfalea, where in the last 3 years, we now offer an MBA alongside getting a professional certificate in business analytics. And that's become a great differentiator in the employment market. Employers value this, and so therefore I'm going to focus on these 2 programs in offering you a snapshot of our student profile. So I will limit my remarks to the fall admission cycle. That's the cycle that we've just completed. We're currently in the fall 2020 admission cycle, so the figures that I'm going to report on are the figures from fall of last year. The average age of our MBAs is 26. We have a very young cohort, and approximately 68.5 of them are age 25 or below. So we have very few individuals who have work experience of greater than 3 years. For the MSBA, the average age is actually lower. It's 25, and 68% of them are age 25 or lower. Now, the interesting thing about the MBA and the MSBA is that the majority of students who apply to both these programs are actually taking the GRE. So for our MBA applicants, 65% of the applicants came to us with GRE scores as opposed to GMAT scores, and 32% of them were women. For the MSBA, again, 58.5% of the applicants reported their GRE scores, and 42% of the applicants were women. So on average, the MBA program at Orfalea will get anywhere from about 160 to 230 applicants per year. 10% approximately are international. We would welcome that number going up to about 25%, but at present, that's we have only about 10% international applicants. I admit a cohort of 30 to 35 annually. I know you're going to gasp at that, but we are a very small business school, and we value what that affords us, and I'll talk about that a bit later in the presentation. The MSBA program gets about 250 applicants, with about 30% being international applicants. Given the fact that business is now soaked in data, there is great demand for business analytics programs. It admits a cohort of about 32. The other programs, which I'm not going to emphasize today, get approximately 100 applicants, and they also aim to admit about 30. So we are single cohort programs. Every graduate program here admits a single cohort of students.
So, Bina, what would you say Orfalea's business school is best known for? What is the strength of your programs in comparison maybe with other MBA programs? Why would a student want to apply here?
Okay, as the numbers indicate, and as I already alluded to the fact, first and foremost, I want to emphasize we're a small business school. And you would say that, well, that doesn't bode well. But actually, I think these days in education, a small business school has lots to offer. Each program is a single cohort program. So relationship building, teamwork, such that you visit people frequently in the year that you spend with us, collaboration, are very heavily emphasized. So when you leave us, I would say that not only do you have day one work-ready skill sets, but you also have a powerful personal network that I can personally vouch anchors and supports you throughout your career. I hear back from students who have left us 3 years, 5 years out, and they routinely tell me that when they face something, either professionally or personally, they can go back to the cohort that was with them during the program and rely on them for both support and advice. Additionally, I think I have to emphasize this, and I can't emphasize this enough. We deliver knowledge through experience. We very much offer an experiential knowledge for any program that we run. So Cal Poly's teaching philosophy is learn by doing. Now that might sound like a trite thing, but it's actually very powerful. So in all our programs, in all of Cal Poly's instruction, we actually make you do things in order to learn them, rather than learn them in order to do them. Okay? And you must remember that these days, the most powerful thing in cognition is learning through the process of engaging with something. So Cal Poly is very much known as a practical learning environment rather than a theoretical learning environment. And that will become important as we look more to the kinds of programs that we offer. Now, the final thing I will tell you is that because we're small, if you're looking for an anonymized education, this is not the place that you should apply to. I'm very fond of saying we don't have any backbenchers because we don't have backbenches. Most of the classes are 30 to 35 strong, which means the professor knows you personally. And so I know you personally. You do something spectacular in class, I will hear about it. You do something not spectacular in class, I hear about it. And very quickly, you will hear from me. So this is a program where people know you by first name from day one to the end of the program to throughout your life. Finally, we offer each of these programs, including the MBA, on accelerated paths. So in 10 short but intense months, and I'm told millennials actually prefer these, you can get an MBA or an MSBA. So I think we're very nimble and savvy to the way the market is demanding professionals to be trained and to be ready.
Excellent. And I will attest, since I was a visitor yesterday and met with several departments on campus and had a tour of campus, I was extremely impressed not only by the campus itself, but the professionalism of the students, but also the intimacy of the campus and of the MBA program. The fact that people know each other here is really impressive when you go to some other campuses that have really large programs where it's very impersonal and students are more of a number than an actual name. So again, kudos to you and your program. So let's dive deep a little more into Orfalea. So Bina, let's start by asking you, what do you look for in applicants that are applying to your MBA program?
I look for individuals. I look for people who can present who they actually are as an individual. Remember, I'm going to only admit 30 to 35, so I have no room for clones. So your best bet in applying to me is actually to present materials that will present you as a unique individual. Now, how do you do that? I would say that whatever you've studied, whatever you've engaged with, both in terms of work and outside of school. Of course, I need a GPA and test scores, standardized test scores, GRE, TOEFL. But I'm fond of saying that your GPA and your test scores produce what we call two-dimensional IKEA candidates. No offense to IKEA, they make great furniture, but it's the flat pack candidate at that point, right? It's your personal statement, it's your letters of reference, and it's your resume that round you out into a three-dimensional candidate. And that's when we start looking at you seriously. Now, your reference letters, I would say triangulate. I ask for 3. Choose 3 unique individuals who can give me unique insights into you. I like to hear about what motivates you. I like to hear what you're good in terms of your problem-solving efforts. I like to hear that when you problem solve, you bring in plan A, follow it up with plan B and plan C in case plan A doesn't work. And I must admit to you, some of my finest candidates have been those who have been very honest about telling me about how they fail. And they've picked themselves up and gone right back into the fray. And if you haven't realized this, business has a lot of failures. So if you're not capable of picking yourself up and shaking off the dust and going right back at it, that's actually, I'm looking for non-brittle candidates. I actually look for signs that you've taken some punches and that you've weathered them. So that's who I'm looking for. And of course, we welcome undergraduates from any major. So we're open. We let you worship at any altar that you can intellectually and then come to us to learn business.
Excellent. Thank you for your honesty. I'm sure the counselors on the line and that will be listening to this on demand really appreciate that when they're working with their prospective applicants. We also hear from business programs that GRE candidates help the program's diversity by bringing different knowledge and skills from many different types of undergraduate backgrounds. I know we talked about this yesterday, but can you share a little bit about your feelings about this to the audience?
Absolutely. I very much believe in this, and the Orfalea actually MBA program is the niche that we occupy is that we teach business to non-business majors. So in fact, we really welcome people from all different backgrounds. In general, not more than 10% of the Orfalea MBA cohort comes from business. So year on year, a good 50% can come from fields in engineering and other STEM majors, computer science, biology, kinesiology, chemistry. And then the other 40% will come from fields as diverse as, remember, we're Central Coast, so we'll get ag business majors, we'll get animal science majors, wine and viticulture majors, and then we get from the liberal arts. sociology, political science. We've had 2 philosophers go through the program. They've done exceedingly well. We expect people to have learned how to learn in the 4 years that they've spent at an undergraduate institution. Right? And then we offer you what we consider an advanced foundation in all aspects of business. So many of you will be familiar with the term bilingual or bicultural. Our MBA program is geared towards producing bi-intellectuals. So you'll have a base skill set or a base technical set in some other discipline, and then you'll learn the language of business from us. And employers these days very much welcome it, especially in Silicon Valley. They like people who have, who know business, but also have skill sets out of, let's say, sociology or engineering, computer science, chemistry, biology, philosophy. So I think it's a wonderful time where business is accepting and welcoming people from all arenas. And therefore, then the GRE becomes a very powerful tool because it allows people to share that experience across all those disciplines.
Excellent. So the next question, I think our AIGAC audience today is going to find very useful. I know from attending the conference for the past several years, the one question we're always asked is, what are institutions or MBA programs looking for from the GRE? So the GRE general test provides scores on the quantitative reasoning, verbal reasoning, and analytical writing measures. What importance do you here at your MBA program give to each of these GRE measures, or what are you really looking for when you're looking at the scores of your applicants?
Okay, so quant and verbal are obviously very, very important. The MBA and the MSBA, actually, both programs are multidisciplinary programs, you know, and so they have both analytic skill sets, or you are required to have the ability to deal with material that is analytical, that is quantitative. So the GRE Quant Score is my go-to measure for knowing that you'll be able to flourish in courses such as quantitative analysis, accounting, finance, microeconomics. I need that to assure me that my students will be able to deal with that kind of material and think about it productively. But you know, business is as much about communication, persuasion, teamwork. And there I really look to the verbal reasoning test to assure me that you understand, you know, basic language. You know how you can use it to communicate with others and to express yourself. In years, I would say in the recent past, we have started looking more carefully at analytical writing. I must admit to you in all honesty that initially when I became MBA director, it was the quant and verbal scores, and I very rarely looked at analytical writing. I'm just putting that out there. I don't know whether other directors have been doing similarly. But I would say in the last 2 years, analytical writing has become a measure that is now reported regularly on my, you know, the files that the office creates for me. And I look at it, and we have become, we've now, I think with 3 years, this will be our 3rd year actually using it more carefully. We are going to go back and do a little bit of analysis and see whether it correlates with performance in the program. The quant and verbal skills were quite confident that we get what we want out of them. I will share one more thing, that since the MBA gets applicants from various backgrounds, in general, if you're a STEM candidate or out of engineering or math or computer science, I actually look more carefully at your verbal scores. And if you're out of the liberal arts, then I look more carefully at your quant score, because it's the opposite of what your training has. So if you're an engineer and you get a great quant score, I just assume that's, you know, not really telling me anything more because you already have an engineering degree or you already have a quantitative degree. But I'll look very carefully at your verbal and analytic writing.
Correct.
So that's how we've been using them. And, you know, we inform our candidates as well that this is how we use them.
Excellent. For the institutions that are members of AIGAC, just to let you know, since Bina stressed analytical writing, or made reference to it, you actually have the opportunity to read the analytical writing essays through the ETS data manager. So unfortunately, the counselors would not have that opportunity, but those of you that are, you know, MBA directors or MBA counselors or work in the admissions office do have that opportunity again, and it's a free service. Just sign up for the ETS data manager. And if you have any questions on how to access that, my contact information is at the end of the presentation. I'll be more than happy to help you and guide you in that process. Okay, so let's move to our next question. So, do you require all applicants to submit test scores, and does using a test score requirement help you to maintain the quality and or the consistency within your MBA program here at Orfalea?
I almost want to say that's a rhetorical question. Yes, we definitely require all applicants to submit test scores. I must admit, year on year, I will get at least 10% of the candidates asking whether there is a workaround. And I'm here to tell you there is no workaround. These scores are part and parcel. They are a significant piece of the application. It's a very holistic review, but the GRE scores are definitely one strong piece of information that we use. And therefore, if that information is missing, we're happy to wait with certain candidates. I will allow them a little extra time and say, okay, if you're busy and preoccupied with something, then I can wait a little bit. But without those scores, there is no admitting.
Correct.
And what do they do for us? I think the quality of program, I take the GRE as an experience that everyone has shared. Each of my candidates, they come from different undergraduate institutions. They come from national and international institutions. I have to rely on, you know, the reputation of an institution. I have to rely on how a particular professor might have graded them in a particular course, how many assignments they did. That is information that I really don't have any inside information on. Whereas with the GRE, I'm assured that every single candidate walked through this door, right? And they experienced the same experience. And that way, it's an equalizer.
Correct.
Yeah. All candidates can be measured on this one count, and therefore I use it. I use it as an anchor.
And that's important when you're working in the admissions field. I know in my previous background as well. And I like the fact that you mentioned holistic admissions, which I feel is very critical. ETS has always practiced and preached that GRE scores should not be used as cut scores, but they should be incorporated into other components or admissions criteria, and you know, all students should be evaluated holistically. So let's move on. Okay, so why should applicants consider taking the GRE? It's always a good question. Being out there, in comparison with maybe other exams, why would you recommend a student take the GRE general test?
So for the two programs that I've highlighted, the MBA and the MSBA, since these are, again, multidisciplinary programs, and we have people coming from different undergraduate backgrounds, and honestly speaking, you may not be at the point where you can decide whether you'd like a specialized master's in a technical field that you are already conversant in, or getting an MBA. And so the one nice thing about is that you take one test, and that can be used to apply to different programs. I would also like to put in your minds, for those of you who deal with candidates who are considering a degree that involves both technical skill sets and business, that at Cal Poly we have the advantage of offering what we call concurrent degrees. So you can actually get a master's in mechanical engineering or electrical engineering alongside an MBA. So in that situation, both admissions officers simply share one GRE test showing, and that saves the student time and energy. So I really feel that the GRE is becoming, once again, that one data point that can be shared across a diversity of students and programs.
Correct. I agree. Thank you so much. For the counselors out there today that maybe aren't as familiar with our website, or maybe there are some new AIGAC members that have joined us today, just to let you know, when you're working with your applicants, it's always good to let them know that we have GRE resources available for their success. So ETS provides GRE test preparation materials, which are available for both free, and there are also some at cost. These include the Power Prep Online. There are various books, paperback and ebooks. There's also a mobile app, and we also have accessible formats for test takers with disabilities. So for the full list, it's ets.org/GRE/prepare. Again, ets.org/GRE/prepare. And that leads us to our last question of the day. As most candidates are interested in future employment or advancing their career after graduation, can you share a success story, Orfila, of a student that entered your program with a GRE score?
Happily. I'm going to highlight two, not one, because they're contrasting. They're both very successful, and yet they are very different. So the first individual I'm going to introduce you to is Nandan Thor, currently a senior manager of data science at Palo Alto Networks, which is a global cybersecurity firm. So Nandan came to us from UC Berkeley. He had a bachelor's degree in cognitive science, but told me he didn't want to go down the rabbit hole of research. I said that's perfectly fine. We had an extensive conversation during the application process. He said that he'd received a first-class theoretical degree. He knew about a lot of things, but he wanted to get some practical knowledge. So he actually applied to Cal Poly for, as I said, dual masters, concurrent masters. So he got a master's degree in industrial engineering from us and an MBA. He had excellent GRE scores, I will admit that. Nandan graduated in 2017, July of 2017, and took up a position at Palo Alto Networks, a position that actually he applied to after an executive from Palo Alto Networks gave a talk in our finance class on how to trade Uber shares before Uber went public. So it was a very interesting talk. And Nandan was quite intrigued and then reached out to the executive. I helped write a letter for him, and the next minute he was in. Now, he started at Palo Alto Networks, and within 18 months, he was named manager, data science. And with another 6 months, he's now been named senior manager, data science. So I always say to people who say, well, take in students who don't have a lot of work experience. And my response to that is, yes, I'm not competing with schools that are asking for 5 to 7 years work experience. I am looking to produce what I call an emerging leader. And Nandan is the exact, or is an excellent instance of what I call an emerging leader. We tell employers that we are going to present you with someone who's going to ask for the thinnest slice of management pie that you have available. And then they will show you what they're capable of. But remember, for these people, there's never a glass ceiling. They have their MBA. So what you get is an opportunity to show what you can do. And in this case, Nandan did brilliantly well. And we think he is going to continue to do brilliantly well. The second example I'll give you is Rachel Mariano. She took the GRE and applied to Cal Poly's MBA program. But when she graduated, she said to me that she very much loves this area, wants to remain local. And as Matt will attest, this is a very lovely part of the world to live in. And so she joined the Downtown SLO organization, which is an organization that deals with small businesses and promotes the welfare of downtown, keeping the downtown vibrant in terms of not only the large chains, Apple, but also the smaller businesses. She joined, and once again, in 18 months, Rachel, who was, even while she was at Cal Poly, all her peers used to say that Rachel builds the teams. That's what Rachel is good at. And it was clearly noticed at Downtown SLO. So within 18 months, she actually was promoted to Chief Operating Officer. Wow. And so I would submit to you that, you know, if you have it in you, we'll equip you with a skill set that then literally can hockey stick your career. And those are two examples that I have. There are more.
I'm sure you have hundreds.
These will do us for today.
Exactly. Again, thank you so much. So let's see if there's any questions that came into our Q&A. Looks like we don't have any at the current moment. And that's okay. We understand that this is an international audience. The majority of you will be listening to this on demand. So what I can tell you is how to stay informed with regarding GRE and the various updates that we provide. Please, at your leisure, sign up for the GRE update, which is a newsletter that comes out on a quarterly basis. It'll provide you with anything related to the GRE in terms of news, updates, and also when we do various webinars throughout the year. You as advisors can always access us also on LinkedIn to stay, again, current on what's going on in the GRE community. And lastly, of course, I highly recommend you utilize the GRE Advisor Kit when working with your applicants, because it really will help you and them in the whole process, not only about registration and preparation, but how to send scores and also various materials that are printable on demand. Again, it'll help you in your positions, again, internationally. And some are available in a variety of languages as well. So with that said, I'm going to end today by, again, thanking Bina, and I'm going to encourage you to reach out to her. If you have any questions or if any of your students are interested in possibly Cal Poly as a intended campus of choice, maybe you'll have the opportunity to come and visit, and you'll be able to maybe recommend your students come and visit as well. Again, the area, as Bina said, is a lovely, lovely community. It's beautiful. It's very close to the beach and the mountains, and it's just my first time here, and I'm very impressed with what I see, and I would have no problem sending my son or daughter to this campus. So again, you have our contact information. Please feel free to reach out to us at any point, at any time. For those of you that are going to be going to the conference this upcoming May, I'll see you there as always. Maybe I can twist Bina's arm and bring her along with me, since it is going to be in Barcelona. She may be interested in coming as my +1. We'll see.
I'll have to consider that very carefully.
But again, thank you so much for giving us your time today. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Thanks again. Have a great day.
Thank you.